Welcome to the channel where education meets adventure and passions are transformed into lifelong lessons. Ophevia's vlog. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Ophevia's vlog. On this channel, we talk about career, education, and lifestyle. If these are subjects that are of interest to you, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification for this channel. Today, we are having an interesting conversation around using artificial intelligence to your best interest. Graduate school application is a very rigorous process. It's a very overwhelming process, but AI has come to stay and it is helping people all over the world. Today I'm having someone who is really into this AI thing. He has a YouTube channel called the Contemporary Science Podcast. He talks about everything AI, how AI is transforming the world. So you want to check his channel out and then learn a lot from there. So he is knowledgeable in this field and is going to help us with the conversation of using AI in your graduate school application, in your academic writing, statements of purpose, recommendation letters. I personally enjoyed this interview. So watch this video to the end and I'll meet you at the end of this video. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching. Hi, Randy. Welcome to our channel. Thank you for honoring our invitation. We are so glad to have you here. So, can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here. So my name is Randy. I'm a PhD student biomedical engineering in Arizona State University, and yeah, basically that. And I'm an enthusiast of technology, and so I love like science related stuff, technology related stuff. So I have a podcast that even talks about that.
Randy has a YouTube channel which talks about AI, how AI is evolving in the world in every aspect of science, right? So I'll add Randy's link to the description and then you guys can check his channel out. So without wasting much time, we'll go right into it. So conversation is going to talk about how you can use AI in your graduate school applications and research. Why should we even use them? Randy is going to enlighten us on that. Why should we care about AI?
I'm sure your audience might be aware of the craze so far around the world about artificial intelligence. And a lot of people think it's a difficult or a huge app to use or software to use, but it's very simple. Now, there are two reasons why we should use artificial intelligence. Number one is that it's better than us, like it's better than me. If anyone tells you that they are better, artificial intelligence cannot do everything human beings do. But in terms of productivity, it is better than us. That is one. Number two, all the people that um, we are competing with, like in terms of working at your company where you are, or in school, or applying for a degree or whatever, those people might be using artificial intelligence to make their work more productive. So if artificial intelligence is better than you and the person you are competing with is using it, then you might rethink how to get that for yourself and also start using. We'll talk a little bit about that. Just to point out something that I saw over the internet recently, uh, there's this company in Hong Kong, NetDragon. I'll send you the link and add to your description for your audience. But what they did is it's a gaming company. And what they did is they replaced their CEO with an artificial intelligence system to make decisions and to that drive the company's profits and their market share to increase, like do all the things that will make the company bigger. And within months, the company had become the biggest company in Hong Kong. It's amazing. So artificial intelligence is here to stay. The earlier we start using it, the better for all of us.
Oh, that's interesting to know that they really
Yeah.
replaced a human person with artificial intelligence and they are even doing better. And that's one a bad side of artificial intelligence that comes to our mind. Like,
Yeah.
is it going to take away our jobs? But also looking at the good side, I like the fact that you mentioned that everyone we are competing with in your graduate school application, the thousands of students that are applying, most people are using it. So if you are not using it, like where does your application stand, right? What AI tools or platforms are available for generating the best educational writings? So educational writings, we mean your research paper, your statement of purpose, even recommendation letters.
This is a good question. So I there are a lot of them out there. Some of your audience may know some that I don't know, but I found out in all my work three of them that are very good that can help you and they are not difficult to use. The first one is Grammarly. A lot of people know Grammarly. We all use Grammarly, but because of how artificial intelligence has come, um, talk about large language models or artificial general intelligence that is inculcated into the general artificial intelligence system, Grammarly has become way better. It checks a lot of your grammatical errors, and even for the free version. So Grammarly is one. It's an app, but you can also install a plugin onto your browser or whatever and type on Google Doc or whatever it to help you emails, all of that. The second one is what most people know, which is ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is great for that. Most people, and we will talk about how to effectively use ChatGPT to make your work better. But it's one of them. You could use the higher version, which is GPT-4. Either ways, it works. The last one, which I personally recommend for people, is BARD, which is the Google artificial intelligence system. Is BARD, Google BARD AI. Now, BARD does great work, and I'll tell you a short story. So, just recently, I was seeing a friend of mine in Ghana. He has a doctorate degree, but he wants to have further studies here in the US or in UK, wherever. And he sends me a text asking me to help him put together a personal statement. So what I did was I just asked him, okay, give me 5 minutes. Then I went on Google Bard. So I made a draft. I put in describing myself to Bard. And we might go into that a bit, talking about the nitty-gritties of putting these things together. But describe myself, what I want to do to the system, and I click generate personal statement. And within a few minutes, it generated a wonderful personal statement.
A real.
I looked at it. So what I did was I copied that onto a Word document and I edited it a bit so that it looks more personal to me, more genuine. And then I sent it to him within 5 minutes. And he looked at it and was like, oh, Randy, this is good. Thank you. Right. So Bard helps with that. And three things that Bard does very well that ChatGPT doesn't offer. There are several others, but Bard does this very well. Is that when it generates an answer for you, you can either click on Google it in case like you are trying to find information, like say universities in the US that offer computer science, for instance. Once you put in that, it generates the answers for you. You can click on Google it just under there, and you go on Google to fact check that information. You could also click on export to Google Doc. So it exports everything the answers onto Google Doc, which is very nice. Or you can even export it to your Gmail in case you are sending emails to professors. These three, there are several others, but these three work very well, especially Bard.
Argument is that the AI tool you are using is that all the AI tools are like garbage in, garbage out. Like the way you ask something and bad will give you, I'll ask it in a different way. And but also it
Yeah.
raises the concern that how genuine is my work, which we are going to talk about. Because let's say someone has a similar background to the PhD student you had to create a personal
Mm-hmm.
statement for, and we both put in create a personal statement for me. We are going to get the same thing. I have tried this. Choosing school and a research interest an integral part of the graduate school application process. How can we best utilize AI for schools and research interest selection?
I went on Bard. I always use Bard because I've compared the two and I realized that Bard is way ahead of Chat. For those who love ChatGPT, it may sound some way to
Yeah,
them,
I
but
love
Bard is way
ChatGPT
ahead.
too. But
But
I'll try
so
bad, yeah.
yeah, check it out. Check it out after here. So I went on Bard and I said, give me a list. No, tabulate 10 top 10 schools or universities in the US that offer computer science degree. It also include the states in which they are and their acceptance rate. So first off, it answers the question that you mentioned earlier, which we can dive a little deeper into. By answers the question that the prompts you put in is important for it to generate the right answers for you, right? And so I put in a very explicit information, very detailed and very concise. And so once it generates the answers or it scans through its system to generate the answers, it has specific things it is looking for. Right. So I mentioned acceptance rates, I mentioned top 10, computer science, the states in which they are. And then generated a table of top 10 schools, uh, the doing computer science, of course, the states in which they are, their acceptance rate. Right. So that is very good. Then you can go a step further. So that is what I did. And it had a table, and that is why I say it's better than ChatGPT because it won't even give you a table. This gave me a table, and I could export it into Excel. Right? I just clicked on it, I exported into Excel, and I looked at it. I could go a step further and choose one of those schools, UC Berkeley, for instance, which is one of the schools that came out. So I pick UC Berkeley, and I go further and I say, give me uh, names of professors that do computer science research in
Wow.
UC Berkeley and add some funds that have been awarded to that school because every year funds are awarded to professors who write grants to the various foundations like National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, and several others to get funded, right? And so you can add that information and say, what are the funds that these schools have? And you click enter, and it will give you information that over the last year, maybe $7 million worth of grants was given to UC Berkeley for computer science research. And you find the names of all the professors that did that got the grant. So that's very interesting. Then you can now pick specific professors, go on the UC Berkeley website and research on them and see, okay, what exactly are they doing? Research are they doing on computer science? If it catches your interest, then you send them an email, and Bard can help you generate that email too. So that is very, very interesting when you
Wow.
think about it.
Yeah. I like how you just broke down like finding the school to finding the program to finding the professor. Look at where you just took the conversation within a minute. Like just put in what you are looking for. Like being explicit is a key word here. One important thing about graduate school application is using organizational tools to track your progress. Like it can be overwhelming. How many schools have I applied to? How many schools have I heard from? So, what are some of the organizational tools that we can use?
Microsoft Excel for me is one of the best. I wouldn't say it is the best, but it's one of the best.
Mhm.
And I guess most of the tools we have are based on the skills we have in using them. So the tools may not necessarily be bad. I mean, there are some that are not that good, but generally, you find a lot of good, powerful tools. Like Microsoft, for instance, is a big company, so most of their tools are very powerful. And so the skills you build in being able to use the tools would help you be very relevant and be productive. So Microsoft Excel. So as I was saying earlier about the generated top 10 schools in the US, it gave me a table. I just clicked export to Excel, and it exported to Excel, and I had everything on there. And I picked one school and I did the research on that. And I could also export that to Excel. And it's very easy. You can pick that table in Excel, pick each school, have a sheet. So you have one Excel open. They have like several sheets open for each university. So you pick UC Berkeley, you pick Arizona State, Massachusetts, whatever, and then all the information you are asking for. So professors that you have reached out to, and then you have them listed there. Those who responded, those who did not respond. For those who responded, what were their responses? Did they give any feedback? Was it positive? Um, do I have a chance of getting into the lab? It goes all the way to the point where some professors, depending on the program and their availability, would invite you to the school to tour the school, to tour their labs, to see if you love their research before you begin. So for organizational tools, I would say Excel is one of the most
Yeah.
useful. It depends on the skills that you have to use it.
How can I ensure the content generated by AI is original and not plagiarized?
You and I have very close backgrounds, but there are certain things that are different about us. So, for instance, we are all applying to Arizona State University. We all have to write a personal statement, and we all go to the same AI tool, let's say ChatGPT. We would have similar backgrounds because we come from the same country, we may have gone to the same university, whatever. But what is different about us is the things we like, our interests, what we do for hobbies, and all of that. And so when you go into the system, ChatGPT, but whatever, you type in a lot more information. It's like going to the hospital. When you meet the doctor, you give more information so that he knows how to deal with your situation. If you are hiding stuff, it will be difficult for him to help you. So that is important. Being able to put in the very concise information. Make sure that the keywords you are looking for. So you are talking about like personal statements, for instance. You have leadership skills. Make sure that you ask specifically that they should include things about your leadership skills. Yeah, you have served in certain positions before. Maybe you were an SRC president or general secretary or something. Make sure it is in the prompts that you give it, just so that it's able to generate information for you. Do not send everything that they send you or the answers they give you straight to the school. If it's for a research paper or you are sending an email or your personal statement, don't just send everything. Scan through it and change things. Make it personal to you. Uh, there's this software that I know called Originality AI, and I'll share the link with you so you share with your audience. Originality AI is able to find text that have been generated by AI tools. So if ChatGPT writes something for you and you send it just the way it is to the university, they can pass it through the system and to tell them that, hey, this person used artificial intelligence to generate
Wow.
this, and it will even generate the percentage of it that was written with artificial intelligence. So what you can do then is to pass it through there first, just like what we do for plagiarism, where before you submit the assignment, you do the plagiarism test. So you do the same thing. It gives you a percentage. Then you change whatever is in there, sentences, phrases, paragraphs, words. You change all of that and you put it in there again until the value reduces to the least. Then it will work for you. I know universities have different rules. There are some that do not tolerate it at all, and there are some that tolerate it to a
A
certain
certain
degree.
point, right?
Yeah, so you should know what the requirement is for that university, and I think that would be helpful.
Giving details about it. Like maybe you might have won an award before that no one have won
Yeah,
before. So generate a personal statement for a PhD candidate who has won this award before. Like garbage in, garbage out, like it stands. So
yeah,
I like the fact that you mentioned that putting personal data, right? Also, I like the fact that you said don't copy everything to like most of the time you are tempted because when this AI generates stuff, they look perfect and you are tempted to like copy everything. It happens to everyone. So
yeah.
that is the disadvantage of using AI. You feel like what they write is even better than what you are able to write yourself. So then we tend to copy back. Being conscious of what you are picking from the website or whatever as to your final work is what creates the difference between anyone who uses it. Are there specific guidelines or best practices to follow when using AI for writing educational materials?
Know what the rules are. So just recently, when this ChatGPT was very much in on the internet and a lot of people were talking about it, I went to my professor one time and I asked her what she thinks about using AI for my research work. So before that, I had tried to use AI to see if I could generate code for the work I was in because I do a lot of coding, and it did generate the code. I gave it very specific prompts and it generated it, except that I felt that I couldn't use it because it didn't really match what I was doing, so I didn't use it. But there was a temptation of trying to use it in situations where you find it difficult to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I asked her, she told me there are some institutions, like say you're publishing a paper or you're submitting a paper for publication with IEEE, right? Uh, for those who don't know, IEEE is the institution for electrical engineering and all associated fields for publishing papers and intellectual work. So if you are publishing to that institution, you should check what they say about using artificial intelligence. There are some of these institutions that do not frown on using it, except that they don't allow you to use it to a certain degree, whether it's about results falsification or um, standardizing your results or just writing an introduction of the research paper. Whatever it is, you should get to know what their requirements are. I think if you know the requirements, you know how to go about it. If you don't know the requirements, you will most likely be in trouble. So I think that is the main thing. Just know what they say. You know your AI tools. You know what to put there. You know what you are submitting. So once you know the rules, you can play by it.
Yeah, and I also want to say that for graduate school application, because there's like an influx of people that are applying, you make sure that even though you are using AI tools, you really check for plagiarism and then you make sure the genuinity content of what we are talking about, like make sure it is very genuine because a lot of people are using this to write. So you want to stand out.
There's this thing about AI right now that it's hallucinates, AI hallucination, where it's like, say, for instance, I ask it to give me research work that has been published on this field. So if you want to do literature review for your work, for instance, you can use that where you click, it should give you information about this. And it gives you the information and it cites them. And you look at it and you're like, okay, this is good. And you just copy it. Most of the time, it will give you the research work, which is accurate, but it doesn't cite the correct research. So it doesn't cite the paper that did the research correctly. So you may be citing a paper that never exists because AI just generated it for you, right? So fact checking that. And for applications, like application to school and all of that, still fact check information before you put it there and make it personal to yourself.
We are saying that AI tools make our work easier, right? Someone is like, if I have to fact check, if I have to make sure the content is genuine, it's almost equal to the amount of time I'm going to use to write a personal statement. And I want to say that no, because if I'm writing a personal statement for myself, I might use like a day or two. AI will use 5 minutes to generate it. If I'm supposed to make it genuine, how many hours am I going to use? You know, if I'm supposed to check for the citing, how many hours am I going to use? So in the nutshell, like it saves us more time, right? I think the next question we have already touched on: what steps can we take to personalize the AI generated content and make it more authentic to our own voices and experiences?
Mention Grammarly. Grammarly helps. So, for instance, I'm writing something and I'm using filler words, or AI generates stuff, and I begin to change something. So I start using filler words. So I start using words like. So I say like this, like that, right? Grammarly would highlight the entire sentence and generate a new one for you. So the entire thing is now reduced in terms of ChatGPT generation or bad generation to a mix of several things. So ChatGPT generated a little bit of it. It also generated. One trick that can be very helpful is using doing multiple generations. So like use ChatGPT, you put in the prompt, it generates it. You can copy and paste. In terms of bad, you can just export to Google Doc and it drafts it for you over there. Then you click on generate again. It generates a second one. You generate a third time. Then you can put all together, take a little from here, little from here, little from here, then you put it together. It becomes one unique piece. Then you can maybe change the name or dates or like factual information that are in there. It becomes a whole new thing. But then again, remember what the rules of the university is. Maybe Harvard allows it, but MIT doesn't. So
So this conversation have been very helpful. I've learned a lot myself. So as we end the conversation, like what would you want to tell people about using AI as in general and where the world is going? What should we expect? Like,
So I think I mentioned earlier that I have a podcast that discusses those things. So I did a video on that where I was comparing the human brain to artificial intelligence and all of that. I believe that the human brain is parallel to none. Like our brain does way more than just sitting behind the computer and doing productive work. It does a lot of things. So artificial intelligence is not as smart as the human brain. Therefore, people should not be afraid to use it. It's like some time ago when I was young, I was using Android. I felt that iPhones were difficult to use. Yeah. I didn't think that it's that easy. I did not see how simple it was to use an iPhone until I started using it. And I realized it's that simple. So most people may have fears of using artificial intelligence. I think the first thing to do is to use it. Then, as you use it, you get better at using it and you develop the skill of being able to use it very well. So, that is what I was saying, that it's not that the tools are not good, it is you who does not have the skills to use it perfectly. There are people who may be even using it way better than I'm using it. Okay. For generating images, videos, for content creators like you and I. So that is it. But for school purposes, applying to university, degree, all of that, don't be afraid to use artificial intelligence. Any kind, any type. Use it. If you suck at it, just keep using it. You get better at it.
yeah. Yeah. Key takeaways: don't be afraid to use the AI, use them to your best interest, but also pay attention to the genuinity content of it. This conversation has been very helpful. Thank you, Randy. Guys, please check out Randy's podcast channel. It's called the Contemporary Science Podcast. I like it because the things you talk about, they are the things you hardly like Google, like on my own, like Google the difference between like the weight loss thing that you did, right? So these are things that you can watch out and like learn a lot from. Thank you, Randy, for an invitation. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having me. It's my
Yeah.
pleasure.